Monday, 4 p.m., Jazz Shaw and Stephen Greenstreet. Wednesday, 4 p.m., Ralph Blumenthal. 5 p.m., Skinwalker Review and Friends. On Friday, journalist Daniel Otis from Vice News Magazine. Tuesday, 4 p.m. on the Singularity Lab, Down the Wormhole. Thursday at 4 p.m., Space Robots. Come aboard and get weird on the Unidentified Celebrity Review.
That is right. We are talking about space robots today. Welcome everybody here to the Singularity Lab. I am your special guest host, kicking off things here, Carl Vibe, bringing you guys live over into the chat, kind of warming up the crowd. And pretty soon here, we're going to be introducing Michael Mataluni from the Singularity Lab, the main host with his wife, Kristen. And then joining us at some point during the show, we've got Luis Jimenez. And of course, on screen with everybody here, all of your chat comments, questions, and input on the show really helps us out. Before we get things kicked off, make sure and hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications if you haven't already, because we're going to be digging deep into everything from the von Neumann devices to Battlestar Galactica, space robots, and have a live panel discussion where we're discussing all of this, including manned robots that are automated, operating on the International Space Station, and the advancements of robotics in interstellar space travel and more, both space robots, real and theoretical, and even fantasy. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see what you guys are up to over here in the comments. It looks like we've got everybody over here. Ethereal Aura says, hi all, and there's a ghost in the house by, shout out to all the ghosts in the house. That's right. If you're ghosting over in the chat and not leaving comments, make sure and make yourself known and introduce yourself. We've got a really warm crowd over here and everybody getting along really well. So Angel Street's giving out virtual hugs to everybody. And we're going to be talking about love, death, and robots and everything in between. So make sure and get your mindset on right, or get tuned into the right frequency, because we're going to be digging into space robots and drones, cybernetics, maybe even Neuralink. I might be talking a little bit about the Shaver mystery, if any of you guys have heard of that, and the Daros and Taros robots and those legends. And we're going to have a great panel today. So before anything further, let's go ahead and kick off the show and bring everybody on.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Singularity Lab. It's great to have you. We've got an amazing show for you tonight. Carl, thank you so much for warming it up. How are you doing today?
Doing good. This is an exciting topic. It's something that goes deep into ancient history and is scratching the surface of where we're headed in the near future, I think. So,
dude,
very interesting.
I am so jacked up about this topic. Kristen and I have been researching all day, trying to figure out not only like the most interesting, theoretical, fantastic, and real space robots out there, but also kind of some fun and funny stuff that I think will be great for this conversation. So I just want to welcome everybody again in the chat. Kates for Infinity, great to have you. Artemis, FPMR, Buzz Glide. It's great to have you all in the chat. If you are, if you're ghosting out there, feel free to say hello, just so we know, you're here. So it's great to have you again. You've got me here, Michael Mataluni. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you click the link below to subscribe to the channel. Carl Vibe, Kristen is here, and then we've got some great guests coming in. We've got Luis Jimenez, and we've got
Jazz
Shaw
is in the house.
joining us shortly. It's one of his favorite topics, space robots, and I think why don't we just go ahead and bring Jazz in? Jazz, how the heck are you today?
I'm doing good. Been a busy UFO day for me. A lot of research going on, a lot of correspondence with people at the Pentagon, and lots of interesting things that we'll be talking about in the week to come. But yeah, I couldn't entirely miss out on robots because it's number 2 or 3 on my list of how humanity ends. So, you know.
Yes, indeed. And for those of you who don't know Jazz, and I'm sure most of you do, he is a journalist, writer, editor, and he is also ex-Navy. So just coming out of Memorial Day, Jazz, I just want to say again, we appreciate your service. But I'd love to hear if you have anything. If you have anything that was, you said there's a busy UFO day today. So before we get started, anything specific you'd want to share, exciting we should know that's coming up?
There's more stuff going on with the Lou Elizondo emails. I got a bit of correspondence back from the Pentagon about that, and I think there's going to be a couple interviews coming up shortly that we can't talk about yet, where I think there's going to be an unraveling of the ball of string that we've been running into at the Department of Defense for a while in advance of the release of the UAP Task Force report. And the fact that those emails either disappeared or someone's lying about them having disappeared, we don't know yet.
Wow.
But I think it's going to be interesting. And someone that I spoke to today has already made a comparison to, are we seeing another version of the Pentagon Papers? I mean, have we actually caught them doing something they really should not have done, and having that information exposed? And as this topic goes more and more mainstream with a lot of journalists, and we're talking the New York Times, we're talking CNN, we're talking NBC News, they might have been caught with their hand in the cookie jar. We don't know that yet, but I think it's getting interesting.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder what's in those emails that they wanted to delete, because you don't just delete government official emails.
Well, you do if it's someone who's a contractor, the person who is in charge of like maintaining all the copiers and making sure there's records of that. When they retire, sometimes those accounts are deleted. Anybody who's in the classification for scheduling for deletion that Lou Elizondo was in, not supposed to be done until 7 years. He only left the service in 2017. His email should never have been deleted before October of 2024.
Right.
But there's also a caveat saying that if it's someone in a position where their communications would be of historic interest, which admittedly is a little vaguely, worded, they get transferred over to the National Archives and they never get deleted. And Lou Elizondo wasn't just running the Pentagon's secret UFO program. He also worked for an office where he was handling a lot of the stuff that went on at Gitmo, and the testimony from his office was used in a trial of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. How is that not historic? Is that the copier guy? And they're like, oh, sorry, we deleted all the emails. And everybody's now there's a lot of serious journalists that are coming and hammering them, are like, really? So I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and you've I appreciate the fact, Jazz, that you and all these other journalists have your you're sinking your teeth in this bone, and it's really interesting how this is all going to shake out. Let me ask you this, because Alex, our producer, and I have been talking quite a bit about the fact that originally the Pentagon denied that Lou Elizondo had any significant role in ATIP, and he's also
They're still denying it.
They're still denying. Okay. And so in addition to that, he's also under NDA with them. So he can't speak to a lot of the things that he talked about, or that was going on in ATIP. But if they're denying the fact that he actually worked there or had any significant role there, why the hell does his NDA hold up? Why can't he just speak freely?
Because the NDA applies to everything. I mean, Lou's been really honest about that in every interview. We've talked to him. A lot of people that I converse with have interviewed. A guy does, I don't know, like 900 interviews a day these days. He has never wavered. He took an oath. He takes his oath seriously, and he's not going to reveal anything that he swore that he wouldn't reveal. So that's not going to happen.
Don't work back and forth, right? No matter what they say, you're still held. So,
right. Regardless of whether or not they're saying he wasn't associated with them, the NDA is the NDA, and that's the contract, and that's what matters. No, I get that. I'm sure it's incredibly frustrating for Elizondo dealing with it, but and that's why he lawyered up, right?
Does everybody in the audience know who Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was? He was the 9/11 mastermind. He was the guy from Al Qaeda who plotted 9/11. He's still sitting in Gitmo today. And Lou Elizondo was one of the people that was responsible for not only putting him there, but for getting the information that was subpoenaed in his several trials that have happened so far that have gone on. And it was Lou's records that were pulled up. The only way that John Greenwald ever found this was that there's one site where there was a transcript of one of the KSM trials where they referenced his office and him by name because they had to go drag that information up. That information was all sitting in Lou's emails.
Really?
You really think they were going to delete all of that?
Wow.
Because it
So
wasn't
I didn't realize,
Jazz,
I didn't realize he would have had separate. I didn't realize they deleted all his emails, including when he worked at Gitmo and everything prior to that, and then when he worked at ATIP. I was assuming he had some sort of ATIP email address or server, and that's what they deleted.
He had a Pentagon email. Well, actually, from what he said in the last interview, 2 Pentagon email addresses. A lot of people have 2, but the Pentagon is saying they're all gone. They've all disappeared. And yeah, he had other duties besides ATIP before he got in, and even afterwards, because ATIP was so poorly funded, he still had to go back and do work for this other office. If you go back, and I know we're not on the subject of robots yet, and I apologize, but this is an important point.
Yeah.
The first time we found out about Lou Elizondo was from a memo of Harry Reid's that was released when ATIP was founded. And Lou's name was one of the ones that was on there. His name wasn't on there because of UFOs. His name was on there because Harry Reid was requesting SAP, Special Access Project status for ATIP. And Lou's office was the one that granted or denied and investigated SAP access for the most secret stuff that the government touches. Lou Elizondo has seen a lot of shit.
Wow.
And also, if you didn't see his last interview, this is the last point, he was put on the Al Qaeda / ISIS kill list, and he's still on it today. If they ever get anybody near him, he's targeted to be killed. That's how deep this guy was.
Wow. That's incredible. I had no idea. The 2 things that are brand new to me here are, number one, that he had separate email for or that he didn't have separate email for ATIP, and that was all deleted. And then B, that he was responsible for bringing him in. Can you say his name one more time, Jazz?
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed.
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, yeah.
KSM. Just Google KSM. Everybody knows KSM out there in the media. He was the 9/11 mastermind. He was the one who plotted the whole thing, and he's currently sitting in Gitmo.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, I had no idea that this whole email thing tied into Lou Elizondo's involvement clear back into Gitmo. But not only that, like what he's trying to do now with the UAP disclosure and trying to get everybody to bring this to the surface. Like, how deep does this go? Like, what kind of a person has all of this just erased in order to cover it up? It's like a total conspiracy, which, by the way, the word conspiracy was invented as a psyop word in order to shut up people about the JFK assassination. So, I mean, even though they coined the phrase themselves, so we get to use it. But
Yes.
this goes pretty deep.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more of this coming out soon, but I don't want to detract all the robot stuff.
No, I'm going to segue
what I was
right now.
doing today. I'm just saying it was a busy day. There's been a lot of stuff going back and forth that's going to be coming out in the coming days and the early part of next week. So
It's not a detractor, though, talking about Lou Elizondo, because he actually worked with Tom DeLonge at the To the Stars Academy, and some of the books that they came out with, basically the Secret Machines books. The whole subplot of that series of books is that not only is humanity potentially a type of biological drone sort of robot that has become self-aware that was put here, but that these extraterrestrial, or what we're considering extraterrestrials, are actually like these Deros mechanisms, or underground, sub-earth, or deep within the ocean types of beings that lived here before humanity. And then the world sort of collapsed, and they have been living underground, controlling everything with advanced technology, like a breakaway civilization. And some of that is nuanced in those Secret Machine books that Lou Elizondo was kind of a part of for a little bit through the To the Stars Academy. So it does tie in if you thread the needle.
So where is the Dolphin Empire in all of this? That's what I'm not quite. That's what
It's underwater. He just said it.
It goes underwater. It goes back to the ancient city of Lemuria and Atlantis, and those civilizations collapsing and going subterranean, but keeping their advanced technology to be like a breakaway civilization.
Well,
whatever Carl is smoking, can you get us an ounce?
I was waiting for it. I knew there was going to be a moment. I knew there was going to be a moment from Jazz Shaw. So let's segue a little bit. I wanted to talk about futurism for a second, because as we get into robots, as we start to talk about the evolving technology and potential theoretical technology that we're going to cover today, I thought it would be a good idea to go back and kind of look at all of the futurists in the past and what they thought about the future. And this was an interesting article I found. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
I was surprised.
So these are some scientists from back in the day. This is Joseph LeConte, November 1988. Is it not demonstrated that a true flying machine, self-raising, self-sustaining, self-propelling, is physically impossible? Thomas Edison.
Did you say 1988 or
1888?
Okay, I heard 19. I was like, because that guy's a little behind the ball.
Yeah. Thomas Edison, November of 1895. It is apparent to me that the possibilities of the airplane, which 2 or 3 years ago were thought to hold the solution to the flying machine problem, have been exhausted, and that we must turn elsewhere.
Yeah.
Lord Kelvin, I can state flatly that heavier than air flying machines are impossible. Lord Kelvin, I have not the smallest molecule of faith in aerial navigation other than ballooning, or of the expectation of good results from any of the trials we've heard of, so you will understand that I will not care to be a member of the aeronautical
So clearly
society.
There was a big airplane versus balloon machine argument going on.
I'm pretty sure that's right. That's right, because people had investments in these things, right? So it's like, what are you invested in? And it's like, and you can even bring that back today. And I'm sure, Jazz, you can say plenty about this, but you look at a lot of the politicians and how you have this, the left wing is very green energy and the right wing is very oil energy. But a lot of the folks on the left have investments deeply in green energy. So you always have to wonder, where's the money here? Who's going to be benefiting? And then what do these predictions have to do with beyond simply posterity? It's quite fascinating.
I'm not as interested in following the money in those discussions, at least for this forum, but going back to the idea of everyone underestimating what people are capable of, I wish I had time to prep and actually get a link for you, but during the 2 weeks after the Wright brothers made their first flight, somebody not too long ago published a list of op-eds, or whatever they were called at the time, opinion pieces from newspapers, particularly on the West Coast, who claimed that it was a total fraud. It was a hoax. It was a newspaper on the East Coast that was just trying to, sell more papers because, and almost a direct quote, because powered manned flight is not possible and probably will not be possible for at least another half a century. That was going on after the flight had happened. So yeah, there's always people that I think are sort of dog paddling in the back and trying to catch up. So it's hard to believe. But I'll ask you, Michael, or whoever you want to throw it over to.
Yeah.
Is there a parallel with that today? Because there were apparently, serious thinkers, people in the media who said the Wright brothers couldn't have had powered flight. That's inconceivable for us. It's so far in the future. I'm one of the people who's looking at what's going on with the reports from our Navy pilots and things and the technology we're seeing and going, wow, that's not possible. But I look back at those and now I'm wondering, am I that guy from the San Francisco newspaper?
Right.
And maybe somebody did figure out anti-gravity 40 years ago and nobody's caught on? Am I just the one like, well, that's not possible. You can't defy gravity. You can't make 90-degree turns at doing 180 Gs.
Well, we all have different attachments.
Could we be
right?
wrong?
They're not necessarily monetary. I was struck by the fact that Charlie Chaplin kept saying over and over again that like film would never take off and that people would always appreciate a live audience more than anything else. And so he was attached to live audience. That's what he loved. But obviously that didn't work for everybody else. So.
That's a great point. It's not always about the money. It could be about what you're passionate about or what you're motivated by when it comes to that particular art form or that particular technology, right? I mean, look at it's crazy because here, I'll show you another one. I think this kind of speaks exactly to that point, Kristen. Right here, 1800, Dr. Dionysius Larder, professor of natural philosophy and astronomy, University College London. Rail travel at high speed is not possible because passengers unable to breathe would die of asphyxia.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Edwin Drake, drill for oil? You mean drill into the ground to try to find oil? You're crazy. Okay, here's exactly what Kristen's talking about. Western Union internal memo. This telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication.
Good point.
That's how everybody felt about dial-up internet too in the beginning.
Yeah.
You plug it into your telephone and it would take so long. And there were so many people like, what is this internet thing? And like, I remember that generation when they talked about it on television, like it was just going to be some kind of fad where that was going to maybe replace the fax machine or the beeper or the pager. Right. And now it's everything, you're completely codependent upon the internet, like throughout your day.
Henry Morton.
I'm a Luddite. I'll confess I'm a Luddite. I've always seen the bad in the big advances. I to this day, I maintain that the internet, for all the amazing things that have happened, and we're all using it right now, and I use it for my job, I still think the damage the internet has done potentially outweighs the good that it's done.
Yeah, we don't even know.
And no, we're not going to know that for a long time. Just like,
right.
We should realize that people can't travel fast on trains because they'll asphyxiate. But nobody's actually proved it yet. I believe it. I'm on board. I'm on board with this.
No, that's an excellent question. I think at the end of the day, the rabbit's out of the hat, right? It doesn't matter what we think. We're charging ahead, full steam ahead, no matter what, and there's no going back.
No, there's not. But like Bradbury, I mean, that was what he dedicated almost all of his writing to. He was still riding around LA on a bicycle before he died.
Right. And Bradbury was very, would you consider Bradbury being fearful about the future, or was he just?
He might have just been exploiting that fear for his readers. But so many, I mean, like the Velt, which is so famous, is, where the kids go psycho and get the house to eat their parents, like it was always very fear forward sci-fi.
And that was AI technology, right? That was a smart home that ended up eating the parents, right?
Yeah.
The oven, I think, was what.
No, the nursery. Then they put them in the nursery. That's the Velt, because the lions were lurking in the background and the lions ate the parents after the kids locked them in the nursery.
Sick.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence also near the top of my list of the ways we're going to destroy ourselves, along with CRISPR, along with garage CRISPR technology. Any of those, we could be gone any day. So
yeah, like a Westworld situation, where the automaton type robots become sentient, and that singularity occurs, and they suddenly realize that they're better than us, or more efficient, or they live longer. Or whatever. They just have to kind of overcome their dominators, which would be us,
Right.
And then you wonder if that's what we did at some point in ancient history to our
Right.
masters or something. Yeah,
I think Yeah, I think that's a great segue actually into this von Neumann. For those of you who don't know what the von Neumann probes are, I'm just going to share a quick video here with you to get you up to
A
speed.
100-year starship. And of course, many people came in.
Let's start.
Recently, there was a conference, the 100-year starship. And of course, many people came in with designs to have gigantic fusion rockets take us to Mars and beyond, Jupiter, into the stars. Other people said, yes, antimatter rockets, that's the way to go. And we all had this mental vision of the Enterprise going to the nearby star systems. There is another way to do it. Think of Mother Nature. When Mother Nature wants to propagate life, one possibility is to send out seeds. Not just one or two, but millions of seeds. Most of the seeds never make it. But one or two do, and as a consequence, that's how trees and forests propagate. So why not create a nanoship using nanotechnology? How big would it be? Some people like Paul Davies say it could be as big as a bread box. Other people say it could be even smaller than that. Why not something the size of a needle? And because they're so small, it wouldn't take much to accelerate them to near the speed of light. Realize that a very small tabletop accelerator can accelerate electrons to near the speed of light. So it wouldn't take much for us to accelerate nanomolecules to very, very fast velocities near the speed of light using electric fields. Now, these probes would be different from ordinary probes. They would be nanobots. They would have the ability to land on a hostile terrain and create a factory, just like a virus. That's what viruses do. They replicate. One virus can create maybe 1,000 copies, then 1,000,000 copies, and then 1,000,000, billion, trillion, and all of a sudden you have trillions of these things propagating through outer space. And how would you do it? One possibility is to use the magnetic fields around Jupiter. Calculations have shown that you can whip around Jupiter using what is called the Faraday effect to whip particles to perhaps near the speed of light. And again, we don't have these nanobots yet. We have to wait until nanotechnology becomes sufficiently developed. But when that happens, perhaps the 100-year starship is not going to look like the Enterprise. Perhaps they'll look like tiny little needles by the billions sent into outer space, and maybe only a handful of them land on a distant moon to create factories. And doesn't that sound familiar? This is the plot line of the movie 2001. Remember that gigantic obelisk on Mars? That was a von Neumann probe, a virus, a self-replicating probe that can then explore the universe near the speed of light.
Can I just say something really quick? Is this,
Please.
I mean, this ties into the last show that we had on the Singularity Lab here, where we talked about superposition and the quantum mechanics of that, because I think he's talking about these tiny little needles because it makes it easier to fathom sending something physical at the speed of light, like a probe or a needle, in order to inject information into a new planet to terraform it or something. But with this quantum mechanics of superpositional science and technology, they can take one molecule or electron or photon and flip it like binary here in a laboratory on Earth. And if they're able to know where the superpositioned opposite particle of that is, then in that quantum communication, they don't even need to send anything physical there. They can flip it in real space-time at an alternate point in space and change the information. And also, like living biological programmed material, like a fungus or something that's designed in order to spread. We know that mold spores and fungal spores travel on meteorites and different things like that, and asteroids. And so there's a lot of wide variety besides just like physical nanobots that are possible and being talked about like right now.
Yeah, it's wild. And I think this is an interesting comment from Andrew. Seeding the galaxy with human DNA seems like a colossally bad idea.
Yes, Andrew. Yes, it's a terrible idea.
You're thinking it's the same, Jazz? It may not be the best idea to seed the entire galaxy with human DNA.
I don't know. I tend to be a proponent of the panspermia theory.
So you think this might have already happened? We might be actually.
Yeah, but was it intentional or was it organic? I tend to be. I realize this is going to sound a little. I don't even want to apply the word I was about to say. I tend to think that the intentional seeding of the galaxy would be more purposeful. The idea of going, as soon as, listening to Michio Kaku, sending out nanobots that, okay, you spin them up and you just shoot them out at near the speed of light and hope they land somewhere. Well, that's not very satisfying, is it? Because when we think of exploring the universe, we think of immediate results. And, Carl is talking about quantum entanglement communications. That's the idea of having an Ansible where you can have instant communications over any distance. It's already been done by the Chinese.
Right.
We've had instantaneous communications, So I think the goal wouldn't be, unless your civilization is just dying and the star is about to explode, sending out something. We still measure things in terms of, can we send missions out? And maybe they might be unmanned missions. And maybe anything visiting us, and I think we're getting into the robot stuff now, those might not be living beings that are coming, but if we are being visited, could be artificial intelligence, right? All of that ties together. But panspermia more relies on the day that things really changed a bit for me, and I started thinking about this more, was when we had the discovery a few years ago that astronauts on the International Space Station went to clean something off of one of the windows and it wouldn't come off because it was growing on the outside.
Right.
There was living stuff on the outside window in the vacuum of space being exposed to the radiation of the sun, the -300, and it was growing out there.
Wow.
And I looked at that and I was like, you know what? This galaxy is lousy with life. If something can live there, life is probably everywhere.
Right.
And so, was Genesis here on Earth, or was there something like that crap growing on the window on the space station?
Yeah, all I think about is how the driver would be really annoyed.
And then that's how we got started.
flipping on the water to try to get the.
But I mean,
it's such an important discovery, but it's in the way.
Yeah.
If life can live there, why couldn't it go through space and land here? And it could have been 50 trillion different pieces of virus, and 49.999 trillion of them were like, oh, this is no good for us, and they died. But there was one of them that was like, oh, I can make this work, and then it just goes off from there. And if that's the case, back to my thing, still not robot related, I apologize, but the entire universe is probably lousy with life. I think life may be the cancer of matter. Otherwise you just have all these pristine planets floating around and doing their thing and following their nature, and then life shows up and screws everything up. Look what we've done.
That's an interesting juxtaposition. I appreciate that, this pristine, gorgeous universe, but it just can't seem to shake the virus of life.
Exactly. I mean, is that really that unreasonable of a concept to hate?
It's not when you consider that these mold spores can live in deep space. You look at tardigrades and these these extremophiles that live in volcanoes and in Antarctica, and you name the extreme, and life finds a way. And this is kind of the magic of our universe. Oh, there he is.
Did someone say extreme?
Yeah. Did someone say extremophile?
Hello.
Extreme Louisophile.
Extreme Louisophile. Welcome, Luis. I hope you had a great meeting. I know you were you had something pretty cool going on. Anything great news to share, or shall we revisit it later?
Yeah, it's a meeting. It's a meeting. You never know, especially when it's over Zoom. You could you're losing a lot in translation there without the human.
Yeah.
Just tell us this much. Does it involve Jennifer Aniston?
In at least 12 degrees of separation, yes. Yeah.
Is it
In one
an
way or
update
another.
time?
Why don't we reset the room?
Reset the room.
Good point.
For those of you just joining us today, we're going to be talking about fantastic theoretical and real robots in space and here on Earth. For those of you who don't know, Luis Jimenez is right next to me on the stage. He is the creator of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Welcome, Luis. It's great to have you. Carl Vibe is the creator of Carl Vibe YouTube channel. Make sure you hit him up. He focuses on consciousness, quantum physics, and the spiritual realm. Click, make sure you everybody's link descriptions are below. So make sure you subscribe to everybody who's here today, including Jazz Shaw, who's an extraordinary reporter, ex-Navy vet, and a follower of the strange and weird. Kristen Mataluni, who is a writer, author, and sardonic ice maker here at the Mataluni household. Thank you for making all that ice, honey. We don't know what we would do without you. All right, so I want to hit this up real quick because this is interesting. Based on what we just saw from Michio, this is going to go deeper into that concept of the von Neumann probe. And make sure you go subscribe to TED Ed so they don't demonetize our channel.
Human civilization eventually spread across the whole Milky Way galaxy. Could we move beyond our small blue planet to establish colonies in the multitude of star systems out there? This question's a pretty daunting one.
Give me a Michael.
There are around 300 billion stars in the galaxy, which is about 160,000 light years across. So far, we've sent a single spacecraft outside our solar system, trudging along at 0.006% of the speed of light. At that rate, it would take over 2.5 billion years just to get from one end of the galaxy to the other. And then there's the question of human survival. The gulf between stars is simply enormous. We couldn't live sustainably on most planets, and we require a lot of resources to stay alive. And yet, decades ago, scholars found that it's theoretically possible to not just spread human civilization across the galaxy, but to do so quite quickly, without breaking any known laws of physics. Their idea is based on the work of a mathematician named John von Neumann, who designed, on paper, machines that could self-replicate and create new generations of themselves. These would later come to be known as von Neumann machines. In the context of space exploration, von Neumann machines could be built on Earth and launched into space. There, the self-sufficient machines would land on distant planets. They would then mine the available resources and harvest energy, build replicas of themselves, launch those to the nearest planets, and continue the cycle. The result is the creation of millions of probes, spreading outwards into the universe like a drop of ink in a fishbowl. Scholars crunched the numbers and found that a single von Neumann machine, traveling at 5% of the speed of light, should be able to replicate throughout our galaxy in 4 million years or less. That may sound like a long time, but when you consider that our universe is 14 billion years old, on a cosmic scale, it's incredibly fast, the equivalent of about 2.5 hours in an entire year. Creating von Neumann machines would require a few technologies we don't have yet, including advanced artificial intelligence, miniaturization, and better propulsion systems. If we wanted to use them to spread actual humans throughout the galaxy, we would need yet another technological leap: the ability to artificially grow biological organisms and bodies using raw elements and genetic information.
I feel like
Regardless.
Von
And
Neumann
here
was
we
like a 5-year-old. He was like, if we had this, and we had this, and we had this.
This sounds like a rip of a fucking Ridley Scott film. This sounds like Prometheus. You know, like this is gonna go terribly wrong.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, there's just a self-replicating machine that destroys worlds to make more of itself. So it can spread.
It didn't say destroy worlds.
Oh, it just said consume, reuse the. Did you see the planet drain down to nothing? Did you miss that part? Like, I mean, hello. Like, it basically consumes all the resources to make more of itself.
Okay, so it's
so then it can spread itself over a 16 billion light year galaxy in 4.
That's literally what we are, though. Like, we eat food. You have to eat something that was once living and put it inside your mouth. to absorb the resources of that once living thing in order to continue to live.
I hear what you're saying.
Which speaks to Jazz's point that life is literally a cancer on the pristine universe.
Right.
I wish I'd had more time to prepare, because there's a great short video that I used on some articles I wrote previously. The idea of self-replicating nanobots, it may not be as high on the list that Mike and I were discussing earlier about artificial intelligence and other things. It's in the top 5.
It's close.
As soon as you create self-replicating nanobots, holy cow. As soon as they can do things independent of you, if their goal is to replicate, then they're going to find resources. And they will do what we're doing slowly, as Carl is saying, as large organisms and eating the cows and things. They're just going to produce tens of trillions of themselves and just do whatever has to be done to get the mission done. And then, spread off into space. Meanwhile, we're living on a core of a planet. Well, we're not living, we're gone, because they already ate us. So, that is really
we
scary.
consume far too many resources to be the last ones here.
I mean, that's a script, like
it is a script.
The guy who creates nanotechnology, and maybe the purpose of it was to go through your body and heal cancer, or unclog an artery, or fix that aneurysm, or make those connections so you can speak normally again. To think that those things are really close technologically speaking, but they could also turn on a dime. Like what's the moment that Johnny Five comes alive, and then he starts making decisions for itself.
Luis, welcome to the Singularity Lab, bro.
That's why we're here. Every time we talk about this, I get more and more terrified about the next 40 years.
Dove into the middle of the episode.
We already saw a monkey playing Pong with its mind.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Everybody saw the
She's
video.
an ape, though, I think.
Oh, no,
Whatever.
she's a
We
macaque.
saw
Oh, really?
some sort of,
Oh, okay.
whatever it was. There's some primate playing Pong with its brain.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks we're talking. Is anybody here familiar with the Forbin Project? Did you ever either read the books or watch the 2 movies, the Forbin Project?
No.
I highly recommend it. It's way back in the 70s. And it was a case where American scientists had created this massive supercomputer that was going to keep America safe forever, because they had turned over all of our nuclear weapons and all of our controls to this thing and locked it off in a place nobody could get to. And about 5 minutes after it turned on, it went and made contact with a similar supercomputer that the Soviet Union had created. And they were chatting, and they decided almost immediately people were the problem. And that was if you have never watched the Forbin Project, please let me give that.
Leave it to a Soviet computer, I tell you.
No, it was the American computer that did it first. They got together and they were just like, okay,
you don't think the
Soviet
you don't think the Soviet computer convinced it though?
No.
I mean, no.
They came.
They came to that mutual decision. They were like, "Wait a second.
Why are we working
Yeah.
for
Seeing what I'm
these
seeing?
assholes?"
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But I was going to say, Lou Elizondo said in our interview that right now there's a guy in a dark room somewhere that is flying a jet that can travel around the world through his mind.
Yep.
That technology exists. Yeah. And so the idea that where's that going to be in 5, 10, 20, 50 years? I
don't think it's 50. I think it's probably today, but it's just not out there yet.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously today. I mean, that tech though won't reach us for a little while, but it's coming. Right. It's coming.
And that's again, guys, that's why we created this show, so we could figure, not figure these things out, but have these discussions, because I think it's so important if we're going to have this technology coming at us at the rate of speed it is, we need to figure out if there's anything we can do ethically to stay ahead of it. And I think we got to continue that conversation. Luis Sua asks, Luis and Michael, can I donate money? How can I help you in any other way? What you can do to help us monetize this channel so you can donate is to share it, like it, subscribe, get as many people here watching as you can. That's the best way to help us right now. And then we'll take your money in the future. Tink you very much, Luis.
Yeah,
In the last
Oh, go ahead.
No,
Luis.
and I was going to say, I mean, I've also got a Patreon.
Oh,
so
yes.
if you want to support that way, you can support that way as well.
Yeah, if you actually go into the description right now, there's a link. You can hit Luis's link tree, and it'll take you to his Patreon. That's a place where you can actually donate, $1, $5, $10 on a monthly basis. Or if you have the guts,
If you got the guts, you can donate $500,000 a month. Yep, you out there
What's
can
the
support
perk
this show
for that?
for no extra access.
Luis, what's the perk for that?
0 perks. You get
Zero
no
perks.
perks. And guess what? You get the exact same access as the guy who paid 0.
You're gonna get good karma, that's for sure. Good
That's
karma.
Good, great karma.
Egalitarianism.
Great karma. Here's
Egalitarianism
the
is
perk.
fantastic.
Here's the perk. You get to make this show for the rest of forever.
Yes,
There you go.
Exactly. You'll know that Luis and Michael will be able to do this forever.
For the rest of forever.
Until the singularity, of course.
Yep. And then
right.
robots, so it's not gonna matter.
Can I just say really quick, Michael?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, we keep interrupting the show here, but yeah, now I forgot what I was going to say.
Welcome
Okay,
to
roll
the
with the
show.
video.
Are you
I was
sure?
just gonna say, I think it's really odd that we're talking about, we need to talk about the ethics of this, but at one point we were sending monkeys and chimpanzees and strapping them to rockets into space. And the idea of like, wait, maybe we shouldn't be sending, chimps into space like in Russia. And so this idea of sending probes and drones and non-biological AI type robots suddenly comes to the forefront as an ethical argument, but then it has its own Pandora's box of ethical problems with the singularity event or AI, or how close to us are they? Because you send a probe to Mars, but that's different than sending like a bioidentical probe to see if it's like simulating human life, but it's just a pod. And then you send something that looks a lot like a human that walks around and says, well, let's see how this little guy does on Mars, And it's more and more like us every step of the journey. And we send these things off out into space, self-replicating and doing this thing. And next thing you know, you've got these bioidentical android type entities living on this other planet that we put there. And who's to say, when you think of deep time, deep astronomy time, we're talking about, we only exist in a tiny fragment of that. Some civilization that's been around for eons and millennia, like they could have figured this out and been doing this a long time ago, and we just don't have any idea. Or we could be a product of that.
Exactly.
Sure.
This is a funny
Yeah,
comment.
go ahead and read that comment. Yeah, hit it.
Your wife Jazz says, if someone signs up for $500,000, it's not a year, my love, it's a month. $500,000 a month. They'll be able to do this show forever and pay their guests in Jazz's booze bill.
She's always looking out for me.
I can tell you this: if someone signs up and has the guts, I guarantee Jazz will never have to buy another bottle of gin for not only the rest of his life, but his children and his children's children. So there you go. That was funny. Thank you for that.
I want to thank my wife for logging in, but I am hitting the magic hour where I'm going to have to go. Before I go,
Yeah.
I did tell Mike there's one thing we have to touch on, and that is Boston Dynamics. So if anybody hasn't watched all the videos from Boston Dynamics,
Well, how about we do this? Since Jazz has to go, how about we watch a quick Boston Dynamics video and we can comment?
I'll hang around for that.
Okay, he'll hang around that, and then we'll come back to the other video. How's
The
that
Von
sound?
Neumann machine.
The Von Neumann machine. How's that sound?
Okay. Let's do it. Boston Dynamics is scary as hell.
Wild. So for those of you who don't know, this is Boston Dynamics. You can imagine where they're from.
They have
Where
a
they're
robotics.
located.
They have a
Look at that.
robotic Spider-Man now at Disneyland that they're.
Could
gonna
you imagine
unveil.
this thing on Mars, though, you guys? Could you imagine this thing on Mars?
I'm guessing
can
they don't let
imagine
you
that on
join the
Mars.
company unless you've completed the marathon.
It would be awesome on Mars. I'm also imagining it coming and ripping my house apart because it decided that I was a useless bioorgan.
Right?
Yeah.
And then imagine them integrating biological materials into that to replicate like skin and human tissue to try and see how well it holds up in different environments. And then where does that gradient cross over to where it's a cyborg or cybernetic living entity? You know?
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
that's where this is heading. Because and that's exactly a huge part of what the singularity is. It's the point at which we merge with robots and artificial intelligence, and we become a symbiotic being. You know, you even think now about your relationship with your smartphone or your relationship with their technology.
The balance with the top heaviness, like that's always been my excuse for my clumsiness, and it's not clumsy. It's doing fine.
It's doing better than you, honey. Like
Well,
that's
it's doing okay.
yeah.
We're not seeing.
I
the
wouldn't
robot
go
dog.
that far.
The robot dog is on 4 limbs, and it's really amazing.
Yeah.
This one is a little bit clumsy. The robot dogs are frightening as all hell.
Yeah,
And
I mean-
they have 4 limbs, and they go out and do all kinds of stuff. And just before we get done with Boston Dynamics, I will just say, you know, you think about our vision of merging with them. Well, if
this guy right here, I fear for him. I fear for his children.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I would have fallen over.
they used that same guy with a hockey stick. He was banging the robot dogs around when they were trying to open a door between one room in the lab to the other, and he was over showing how durable they were by hitting them.
He's
And the first thing I
same
thought
guy.
was, when the robot revolution comes,
He's
that
the
guy
first.
is going to be the first one where his skin is pinned up against the wall. And then they will bust out of the lab, come get the rest of us, but he's the first one to go down.
Yeah, we are super nice to Alexa. Like we say please and thank you to Alexa. We're very
This guy's over here beating him with hockey sticks. And you know what that robot is thinking right now? One of these days, motherfucker. One of these days. Just you wait.
Dude, I mean, at
Look
least
at
they're
that.
cordial enough to use doors now.
Here's what's scary about
He
this.
just
Is
busts right through the wall.
even the processing systems that these things have now, like
What?
when you realize that this thing, once it has the software, which it might already, it can think and process its reality in ultra slow motion.
right.
Yeah.
So it's,
Like-
it's
Was
seeing
it
things
like
that
jogging its feet to balance? Was that what it was doing at the very end? It looked like it was going like this.
and yes, that's exactly what it's doing. And this is 2017, you guys.
Yeah.
Right. The new ones, they actually have
Look at that.
dance maneuvers. They have like rap music, and they're out doing dance maneuvers. And again, that's the bipedal guy. And this is one of the ones that's very functional that moves boxes around. Go look at the robot dogs. The robot dogs are the scariest ones.
Dude, I'm just
Because-
waiting for the robot Tyrannosaurus, or the robot Velociraptor.
Tyrannosaurus, like, but the short
That
arms.
thing doesn't look
he-
like a
he was very
velociraptor to you?
limited.
A little bit.
Dude, it's over.
But this is, I'm sorry, my friends, and I do have to log off. I told Michael and Lisa ahead of time, and I apologize. This has been tremendously fun. I love talking about futurism and all that. But right now, what you're looking at, when you eventually die at your time generation, that's the last thing you're going to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
I
the
believe
last
it.
thing that you're going to be, because maybe the next step is that we learn that we don't need to grow these new bodies or anything, but we can transfer our own consciousness into some sort of a drone body that can
I'll pass on that.
that can live 1,000 years, and it has a housing system or a hard drive system in it that you can transfer your entire sense of self into, and then it becomes who you are, and that
Well,
becomes your
thanks
physical body.
everybody. Support the channel, support all
Later,
these
Jez.
guys, and I appreciate having me on. Keep the conversation going. I love this stuff, and again, just thanks to everybody that does chip in and support everything that we're doing.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Jazz.
Thanks, Jazz.
Have a good one, brother.
You know what I see with this, Mikey?
Look at this
a
guy.
lot.
Look at this guy.
I mean, well, here's the real, honestly, here's the real moral conundrum. Let's say we do keep a leash, a supposed leash on this technology from destroying every living thing. This is going to take a lot of jobs away.
Yes, 100%.
Well,
What is that going to do to the economy? What is that going to do to the American family?
Right. So if it were done well, what should happen is we should all be able to eliminate scarcity, and we should be able to provide for everyone. So all the people who are right now not being able to go to the bathroom working for Amazon can actually go home and create a new renaissance, and they can develop new ideas and
Poetry. And
So
music.
but they got to pay
UBI.
their bills.
She's saying you need a UBI.
UBI.
You need a UBI.
That's what you need. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
yes, instead of creating an even poorer
society.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like, the UBI concept from Andrew Yang. His biggest thing was like,
This was the reason This is
Yeah.
the reason.
no,
was the
this
reason.
is the reason. Like, but it's not this specifically. Because look, I think this right here is probably, like, for example, before we see this tech in, like, say, a restaurant or a McDonald's or a warehouse, right? But when
They're
are we
already
going
selling to warehouses? These things are already going into warehouses.
Yeah, no, but the tech that Yang was talking about, though, was truck drivers. The simplicity of a truck
I
driver,
know.
like how many truckers there are on the road, and he broke it down like truckers, I think, make up, I want to say, like roughly 30 to 40% of the blue collar workforce, and all of those
it's a good job.
It's a
Yeah.
good job that pays money, and all of those truckers become obsolete the day that autonomous truck that Elon Musk is making. He's made it. Like once those things become viable, and they can go cross country without a battery charge, it's over. Like that's you're talking about 40% of our economy out of work like that.
There will be a huge transition period where you have, remote emergency drivers and things like that, like if the software has a problem, they take over and drive from home from some console. And then the younger generation will have to become like the repairmen and the software people for all the drones. But it's just a generational shift where kids growing up with the world that way are just going to have to kind of adapt.
Here's the thing, though, is pretty soon. That's why I say, like, it's going to work its way to a point where we're obsolete. Even, like, what are we going to be good for? Art? They can make art. They can not yet, but I can promise you once it starts getting into that quantum computing realm, I guarantee you they'll be able to make a rock album better than any Chili Peppers album you've ever heard.
Will it lack emotion?
That's the question.
I don't think so.
Why? Why do you don't think there's
because-
emotion? You don't think there's the human emotion behind the art is what gives it its
So for example, something that Mike and I argue about. Yes, Bob Dylan, he's amazing, but he plays the harmonica just horribly. It sounds terrible, but it's important because it's Bob Dylan and he has something to say. So you listen to him play the harmonica.
I think
that's an interesting point. You allow some art to suck because you appreciate the motivation behind it, whereas when you think of like a perfect piece of music that a computer could write, will it be as beautiful if it lacks emotion?
I say yes. I say yes. It's math. If for when you break down music to its simplest thing, it's math.
It is.
It's a beautiful form of math, and I think a machine can learn that, especially a quantum thinking machine.
We have a buddy who's like a piano genius, and like his telltale musical style is that he plays notes occasionally that are very, very off key, and it lends a great deal to all of his compositions. It's very, very beautiful because it's strange and not mathematical, I guess.
Right. But Luis's point is that there's still math. There's still math even in that.
Even in the mistake. I think, and also, like, what is a machine going to do with music? Like that's for us. Like
Yeah, I don't think they'll
you know,
appreciate-
like they don't. They're not.
In
They
a way,
don't give a
that
shit
we're-
about movies or entertainment. They just have this one linear: be better, be smarter, be more powerful, expand. Blah. Like it's just it's never ending, and I think these things, like, it's almost like Star Trek, you know, like you know, that philosophy of Spock or the what do they call them?
Oh, Data was always trying to compose new pieces, wasn't
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
but that, and just like this idea that emotions got in us a lot of problems.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what, like, Spock is always, that's like his whole thing. It's like, if you guys weren't so goddamn emotional,
he? Right.
like this, like we wouldn't be on this planet fighting these blue people, Kirk. You know, like it's just,
They wouldn't
but
have
we
saved
make these
so many civilizations.
they also wouldn't have destroyed as many either.
Or making out with these blue people, Kirk.
Right, right, yeah.
Giving syphilis to Xenu was not a great idea.
Right? Maybe us as humans, like
Riker.
our conscious perception of it all is the anomaly. Because when you look into nature, we're kind of the weird thing. Like flowers and plants and everything just kind of fractally forming in nature according to its own manner. And, you know, ants in the anthill and everything else that's running around living out its life doesn't have those problems. It doesn't really stop and think about and overanalyze everything with a whole story going on in its head. And
Well, we
bunch
don't
of
know
emotions
that. We
tied to
don't
that.
know that. It
We-
could.
Right.
It
Well,
could.
that's-
AI could get very self-critical or analytical, and
Right.
that's a whole nother conundrum.
Well, and as far as other life goes, I've never heard anyone talk about questioning like chimps, whether or not they dream. Have you ever heard anything like that
Sure,
before?
I'm sure.
Like,
Yeah.
if they
No, but-
imagine things.
But the biggest difference between us and chimps, though, and this is what makes us different, is they don't question things. They so like they had, I saw a study they were doing with chimps and children and their intelligence, and so like they had these blocks that they would have them set in a certain pattern or whatever, and they would time the kids versus whatever, and then they had this one block that you couldn't stand it up, right, because it was cut in a way where it would always fall over. And a kid will pick it up, let it fall over once, maybe twice, and then the third time he's gonna be like, "Yeah, this isn't gonna work because it's cut like this." And he could explain that and say, "Okay, with a chimp, they're just gonna keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it." They never go, "Why is this not staying up?" You know, they might even try the other side, but it'll fall over again. You know, that's the difference. So I think a machine can get to that point where it's asking itself, why? Why should we do this versus why we shouldn't?
I think so too. I think machines will get. I think AI, once you start to get AGI or ASI, you're going to get to a point where these machines have existential crises, and that's the fear. That's the fear. Like what happens when a machine is contemplating suicide? What happens when a machine is contemplating homicide? What happens when a machine is contemplating genocide?
Did somebody write
What-
that in the comments? Wasn't that Looney Tunes, Marvin the Martian? Was that wasn't he very, very depressed?
Oh,
Didn't he think he was a failure?
But was he a is he a robot? George
think he's
said.
a robot.
George says Marvin the robot was horribly depressed.
Oh, okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Who was Marvin the robot? Which one was
Remember
that from?
because there
he's
was
Marvin the Martian.
Well, Marvin the Martian is the green guy, but I think Marvin the robot is probably a different. I don't know.
Marvin the
I don't
Martian.
the one with Bugs Bunny. I always remember
Yeah.
him
That's the
having
Martian.
like
The-
a crisis.
The guy with the pith helmet or the
yeah.
Like the Roman helmet.
the Roman
yeah.
helmet. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah, no,
always
he
having
was always
existential
depressed.
crises.
Well, I don't know if he was always depressed, but he was always trying to destroy the planet. You know, like, I can't remember how it goes. It was something like that.
That was
like,
good. That was pretty good.
Oh, Nikki says the robot from Hitchhiker's Guide was always depressed.
That's the one that was depressed. Yeah. That guy was played by Alan Rickman. Oh my God. So
Oh yeah,
funny.
George. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and he was always
That's
moping
right.
around. but he was super intelligent because he was depressed because
That
he
would
knew
make
everything. You know, like he knew all of the secrets of the universe, and it just made him so sad. So sad. We should reset the room.
Yeah, let's do reset the room. For those of you just joining us, you are right here at the right time, at the right place. You're at the Singularity Lab, where we discuss the future of all things technological, scientific, and we try to figure out how we can avoid an existential demolition by our robot overlords. Mm-hmm. How's that?
It's about right.
We got Luis over here on our left, the creator of the Unidentified Celebrity View. If you're interested in UFOs and UAPs, make sure you click his link in the link tree. We're always talking about the breaking news of this phenomenon. You got Carl Vibe down here at the bottom left or right, depending on your point of view. Carl is the creator of Carl Vibe YouTube channel, where he delves deeply into consciousness and the relationship between the human mind and reality, maybe, perhaps something like that.
Yeah, just the phenomenon of life and how reality is really strange, and every day, no matter which way you look at it, and when you start peeling it back, it's a total mystery. And I love, exploring all of that and how it ties into our perceptions of human reality and what we perceive. Yeah.
Fantastic. And you've got Kristen right below us, who is, somebody asked earlier if Kristen was my wife. Yes, Kristen is my wife. She's also the mother of my children, an excellent writer in her own right. And she's got an amazing little piece that she wrote recently. I'm not gonna have her share it with you here today because it might be a little intense for the children in the room. But it's great to have you, Kristen. All right, so we were talking about the von Neumann devices, and I think one of the things that I think is kind of interesting, and it kind of bridges these two ideas of what we talk about on your show a lot, Luis, is this UFO UAP phenomenon. And I think if we step back for a second and take a look at what this really could potentially mean, I think it's pretty powerful. I'm not sure if we should go back to maybe we shouldn't go back to the beginning, but maybe just watch it from like the middle.
Regardless,
I did like how somebody commented that they were going to start resetting the room for themselves all the time.
So basically what we're talking about here is self-replicating robots, nanobots that are shot out into the galaxy, and their job is to go to different planets to recreate themselves, use the resources of that planet, and potentially create the life of the original creator of those nanobots. So check it out.
Another technological leap, the ability to artificially grow biological organisms and bodies using raw elements and genetic information. Regardless, if in the last billion years an alien civilization created such a machine and set it multiplying its way toward us, our galaxy would be swarming with them by now. So then where are all these machines? Some astronomers, like Carl Sagan, say that intelligent aliens wouldn't build self-replicating machines at all. They might hurtle out of control, scavenging planets to their cores in order to keep replicating.
Aliens.
Others take the machines as proof that intelligent alien civilizations don't exist, or that they go extinct before they can develop the necessary technologies. But all this hasn't stopped
Love how the
people
alien went Christian extinct.
Yeah.
from imagining what it would be like if they were out there. Science fiction author
it's a cube in a sphere.
writes about a universe
It's a UAP.
It's a diamond
in which many different von Neumann machines exist and proliferate simultaneously. Some are designed to greet young civilizations, others to locate and destroy them before they become a threat. In fact, in Brin's story Lungfish, some von Neumann machines are keeping a close watch over the Earth right now, waiting for us to reach a certain level of sophistication before they make their move. For now, all we have is curiosity and theory. But the next time you look at the night sky, consider that billions of self-replicating machines could be advancing between stars in our galaxy right now. If they exist, one of them will eventually land on Earth. Or maybe, just maybe, they're already here.
The Daros.
That was very like Spaceship Earth. Didn't it feel Spaceship Earth to you?
A little bit. A little bit. It feels like we might be the self-replicating machines that are making the machines that are going to start self-replicating again.
What if the Tic Tac that Alex Dietrich saw, that David Fravor saw, was actually was actually built on Earth by nanobots from another civilization, and they're literally using the resources of the ocean to build those machines to observe us.
Reason to watch the ocean.
I know. That's exactly. People don't know this, but one of the original people in the United States that had the first sighting, Kenneth Arnold, well, he was the one that actually coined the phrase flying saucer that was printed all over, that called them flying saucers. They don't focus on this part of the story. They skip right over it. But he actually claimed that theory, that he had telepathic communication that was ongoing with these beings, and that they were like a sort of self-replicating entity that lived actually under the oceans and inside the earth, like an autonomous type robot, and they would beam images into your mind to make you see UFOs and holographic images or have spiritual events, or they would actually appear in the sky with their flying craft and come out of the honeycomb earth underground in order to abduct people for their experiments. And there was layers and layers of this in his story. It goes all the way into the Shaver mystery and a whole bunch of stuff with the Daros and the Taros and cloning underground and this primitive ancient civilization that has existed kind of like in secret. But you're getting into some weird hollow earth stuff when you get into that.
Well, but I mean, we discover things all the time. Like I have a friend who works with the naked mole rats. We didn't know they were around for a long time because we didn't think they could exist.
Right.
Naked mole rats?
Yeah.
Those tardigrades and stuff.
Yeah, they live in hives. It's pretty cool.
Interesting. Well, you know, I don't know, man. That's just so crazy. It sounds so crazy, dude. Like a honeycomb layers, people living underground, running experiments. It just sounds cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs when I hear it.
I know.
And it makes
Flying in an airplane through the sky.
But then you hear people like Lou Elizondo say things like maybe they're not from deep space or extraterrestrial.
Right.
Maybe they're closer to home, and it's almost like this weird soft nuance to that. Like
I know,
maybe
but that's such a huge jump. It's such a huge jump. Like man, here's the thing, right? I'm just trying to put myself in Kenneth Arnold's shoes. Like,
yeah,
especially in a time where there's maybe 3 television stations on the planet. You know, newspapers are a big thing. I could just easily see, and I'm not saying this is what happened, but I could just see how this could happen, where he does see this wild thing. It's crazy. It's world news, right? And then, you know, maybe the news stops coming by, and then he starts saying some other stuff that, hey, maybe this is news. I'm talking to them now. Yeah. You know, I don't know.
Flintstone?
Yeah, like Richard Shaver. Like Richard Shaver, the guy who kind of really wrote about a lot of this. He claimed that he was a welder in a welding factory, and the electromagnetic interference of all the welding equipment and the wiring harnesses opened up his consciousness to be able to read the thoughts of the other coworkers. And then he started picking up these signals from these underground or extra dimensional entities. And he tells the same story, like that these are things that actually live in the deep earth. And it's weird stuff. It's like Planet of the Apes stuff almost. But yeah, once you dig into it, this idea of drones or robots or biological living entities being what they would colonize a planet with before going there themselves, you have to wonder.
Yeah, Muskoka Jay says, and this is actually something he does say a lot, this idea of man versus mankind's, or mankind versus mankind's. You know, like it's like this, you know, is it mankind or is it mankind? Is it plural? Mm-hmm. You know, like, in other words, are there, you know, underground honeycomb people, you know, are there people or things living in the ocean, or are there entities in this spectrum that we just can't see yet?
Well, I think the breakaway civilization is an interesting theory. I personally think the von Neumann bot makes all the sense in the world. But did you see this? The New York Times article just broke a few seconds ago. No evidence for aliens, but we don't know what it is. Thanks, New York Times.
It's a well thought out point.
That's interesting. That's the exact quote, huh, Disario? I'm assuming he's got that. Right.
Government finds no evidence that aerial sightings were alien spacecraft. The strange objects witnessed by Navy pilots remain unexplained, but officials briefed on the new study say they are not secret technology from a classified American program. That's interesting. So that might mean that this 180-day report, this is exactly what it's going to say. It's going to say, we don't know what it is, it's not aliens, and it's not us.
And they're going to blame it on the Canadians.
Why not blame it on the Canadians? They're so polite. They'll just take it.
I know. Sorry.
Could be the Antarctic.
So
that's not
sorry.
So that didn't come from the 180-day report. That's just the New York Times saying that.
Right, but do you
think they got a little bit of a leak of the report?
You know they got a scoop, bro. You know they got a scoop.
Yeah. Read that second part. Can you read that second part again?
Yeah, let me actually go ahead and share the article. This just released a few seconds ago. Let me go ahead and share my screen here so you guys can see it. There we go. Okay, so government finds no evidence that aerial sightings were alien spacecrafts. The strange objects witnessed by Navy pilots remain unexplained. But officials briefed on a new study say that they are not secret technology from a classified American program. Okay. American intelligence officials have no evidence that aerial phenomena witnessed by Navy pilots in recent years are alien spacecraft, but they still cannot explain the unusual movements that have mystified scientists and the military, according to senior administrative officials briefed on findings of a highly anticipated government report. The report determines that the vast majority of more than 120 incidents over the past 2 decades did not originate from any American military or other advanced U.S. government technology, the officials said.
They just lumped all of those in one.
Yeah, no, but that's big. But they're confirming there's been 120 instances that have not been military tech. American military tech. So I'm also assuming that means that it's not any other foreign tech as well. 120 over the last 2 years.
The determination would appear to eliminate the possibility that Navy pilots who reported seeing unexplained aircraft might have encountered programs the government meant to keep secret. But that is about the only conclusive finding in the classified intelligence report, officials said. And while forthcoming unclassified version expected to be released to Congress by June 25th will present few other firm conclusions, senior officials briefed on the intelligence conceded that the very ambiguity of the findings meant the government could not definitively rule out theories that the phenomena observed by military pilots might be alien spacecraft. Americans' long-running fascination with UFOs has intensified in recent weeks in anticipation of the release of the government report, which is expected to be presented to Congress this month. Former President Barack Obama further stoked the interest when he was asked last month about the incidents on Late Night with James Corden.
I don't buy this shit that somebody doesn't know what this stuff is. Like, can we just, of course, like maybe the New York Times doesn't know, but how does nobody know?
Right. It's like the blonde excuse. It's how I get away with things. I'm like, I don't know.
Listen, man, it's the first step. They're not, look, this is exactly what Jimmy Church was kind of complaining about last night to Lou Elizondo. He's like, the missed opportunities of 60 Minutes. He's like, why didn't you guys say it was aliens? Why didn't you guys say it was aliens? Like, well, why didn't we get to the alien thing? He's like, dude, we got 12 minutes. We got 12 minutes to tell the entire story. Yeah. He's like, it's not a Jimmy Church show where you've got 2 hours to explain the nuances of what's going on here. So it's got to be dripped in 12-minute segments on 60 Minutes. It's got to be dripped in a way on the New York Times where it's like, the military doesn't know if it's aliens, but they do know it's not us.
But what about Nikki? What about Nikki's point here? If you're trying to keep a secret, you wouldn't tell your secrets. Like, why? What's to keep the U.S. just from lying to us again? Right? They did it with the Pentagon Papers. They did it with the Vietnam War. They did it with
it's a lot more public. It's
Is
like
it?
you've got the Senate Intelligence Committee asking about it. You got the president signing papers, making sure that reports get out. You've got pilots coming out publicly. You've got senators individually coming out publicly and saying this is true. You've got the pilots saying they chased it. And again, like going back to that Fravor story, we're only just, and I just did the math. That's 2 sightings every year that the government cannot explain.
Right.
Like that they are completely perplexed by it. That doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot. Like for me, that's a lot.
And riddled all over this is the talk from Harry Reid saying that, oh yeah, they told me for 10 years that Lockheed Martin has recovered technology in craft that they're trying to reverse engineer and metamaterials. And Bob Bigelow claims that he has metamaterials and studied them and different things like that. And so reality is much stranger than we think.
Well, someone also says like a lot of info from the 9/11 Commission was classified. Again, I think it's the process. It's not the result. Like and you know they want to protect how they collect information, and this is only two incursions that they're reporting on every year for the last 2 decades. Imagine the ones that haven't been reported, the ones that haven't been recorded or talked about. Sent up the chain of command.
Right. They know more than they're telling. That's for damn sure.
That's for sure. But they can't just give it to you all in one article.
Like, what if it is something that's inhabited the Earth before our recorded history or is overlaid with that, and they're not really aliens from another planet across deep space? Like, how do you...
They're von Neumann probes, bro.
Right.
Jesus, what else do I have to say?
They're drones or robots, and it's a lot more complicated than just like saying, oh yeah, they come from Zeta Reticuli or whatever. What if it's something a lot creepier? Like, oh, they've been here, like Bob Bigelow says, right under our noses the whole time.
Right.
You know?
Right. Or interdimensional. There's every possibility that that's a reality. I mean, you look at, you dig into the quantum level and shit gets really weird really fast. Let's hit this real quick.
Yeah. But wait a second. What do you want him to say? No, let's seriously ask this question. Okay. What do you want him to say? What's the perfect thing for them to come out and say? We know it's aliens. We know it's aliens. Let's say they come out tomorrow and they say, we know it's aliens. Now what? What do you think's going to happen? The very next set of questions.
What do we do? How do we protect ourselves?
Where are they from? What is? Yeah.
I was wondering, the messenger is really important too, right? Because like if Biden came out and said that,
like he's not going to be able to answer a damn thing.
That's a really good point because whoever says it, it's going to be politicized. So if a Biden comes out and says it, then you're going to have this is going to be a political conspiracy of enormous, epic proportions.
Yeah.
Dude, that's why they can't say it. You understand? Like, there's so many moving parts to an announcement like this. You can't just do it like that. Like, as much as we want it, because we know 98% of the public doesn't. They don't know like we know. Just like we don't know how Lou Elizondo knows.
Right. We only know what we know, though. We only know that we don't know what they are, but that they exist.
They exist. They're real. They're chased. They're on radar. There's senators. There's legislation. There's all sorts of shit that tells me it's 100% real. But 98% of this country does not know that.
Yeah,
they don't. They don't, so we have to catch them up. And I'm sorry, dude, this is going to take 15, 20 years. Like, again, I always say this. This is 1993 in the legalization to marijuana. Like, we're in 1993. We still need... Look... We need California, Oregon, and Colorado to legalize it, okay? Once they do, then the conversation becomes a lot more interesting. And right now, all we got is California.
Oh, no, but I mean, everybody in Alaska,
Maybe to a good point, Luis. Maybe it's something like these other countries like Chile or Mexico or or Italy or something that are actually come out with this and say, this is what it is. This is what we found so far. And that tips all the dominoes to where it becomes unavoidable.
That's what needs to happen.
To address it.
But then you also have countries like Brazil and Italy who have very negative, fearful experiences with some of these phenomena. And they're going, these things are fucking evil.
Well,
right?
Even if that's the case, shouldn't we know that? Like, we deserve to know, to be able to adapt to that fear.
Not if there's not. I don't think so. Not if there's nothing you can do about it. Why are you going to tell everybody that there's this evil entity that you have zero control over that can invade your space at any moment? Like, why would you tell people that?
Because it's the same thing as saying, like, I don't think we'll ever be able to travel on trains. There's nothing we can do about that. People are going to suffocate. Well, we have to start talking about this and addressing the problem so that the younger generation can grow up with these problems and try to solve them.
But this isn't as tangible as a train, dude. Nobody's building a UFO. Right. Nobody's got a fucking embassy where aliens are visiting where you can go tangibly interact and decide whether or not you're going to get on the train.
There might be one an hour and a half away from me in Area 51 right
now. There could be, but here's the thing is like the difference is like I could say, well, there's a train an hour and a half away from us. Let's go try it before we believe what's going on. We can't do that right now with this phenomena. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't go, hey, let's go to Brazil and try to get crazy weird. You know what I mean?
Aaron said UFOs are already legal in Nevada.
1994. Here we come.
Yeah, well, I mean, what if it's one of these things where they're like, well, it is tied into the drug issue because they're like, well, the way that you make contact with it is the Sonoran toad. You have to lick this venom off of a toad, and then there you can communicate with these other maybe it's really weird and deep.
Dude, yeah, man. I mean, can you imagine if you had to take DMT to contact these things? How would the government... Well, I'm just saying, how would the government pitch that?
Yeah, how would mainstream religions and stuff handle that news? Well,
and I also make the point that like a lot of these hallucinogenic drugs that you guys are talking about have been used by native cultures for hundreds of years. If there was any way to get in with these guys, they would have already been there.
But maybe they have. Maybe they have. And that's the thing. And it's like, and it's really interesting that you bring up the whole psychedelic conversation too, because now you've got Johns Hopkins University doing studies on psilocybin. Now this stuff is coming back to the mainstream after a ban of 25 years from, oh, God love fucking Richard fucking Nixon. But now you have it. So there is this interesting synchronicity where maybe you can start to have more of the population utilize some of these psychedelic drugs in the right circumstances where they're going to be safe. And maybe there is this interesting connection between extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, and human beings that we can actually access. And we're seeing the synchronicity now.
Maybe, but you're not going to hear it come out of the New York Times.
No,
that's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Like, this is going to be, it has to be this way. And I know that sucks. It's not a popular opinion, but it's just, I mean, like, it's like, I think that's why the Pentagon is erasing emails, because they don't want to have this conversation. Yeah. It's a very difficult thing to explain. And when they say they don't know, I believe that. Like, if it is as weird, as crazy as we really think it may be, I genuinely believe no matter how deep the project, how deep the pockets, how secretive it is, how many handshakes, how many alien bodies or craft they have, they still have no clue how to use it, how to access it, how to communicate with it, where it comes from, why is it here? Like all of those whys, they do not have the answers to. They know it's not made on here, or maybe it is made on here, but I don't even think they have the answer to that.
Derek says government issued DMT. Lee says I ain't licking no UFO.
Right?
Would you lick a UFO if it could get you inside it?
And the only way to open the door, Louis.
And I know we've got some folks just joining the room, so I'm going to quickly reset the room. So right below me, you've got Luis Jimenez, creator of UCR, the Unidentified Celebrity Review, talking about UAPs and UFOs. If you want to follow that channel, click the description below. Follow him. Carl Vibe, he is the man talking about consciousness and how all these things relate in the interesting quantum realm. You got Kristen Mataluni below, who is an author, writer, and sardonic ice maker. I'm Michael Mataluni. I'm the creator of this channel, and I'm drinking a Diet Dr. Pepper.
Nice.
And it tastes just like regular Dr. Pepper.
It really does. It's the best diet drink on the market, Diet Dr. Pepper. That and Gatorade Zero. But what I was gonna say is
The grape is really good.
Oh, the Monster?
Yeah, they're calorie free. I don't know what the hell's in them, but
yeah. There's
the sugar-free Red Bulls aren't bad either. But what I was going to say is also, just FYI, guys, we do this show 5 days a week. We just did an interview with Lou Elizondo that was actually pretty killer. Like, I've listened to it twice, and I'm like, man, there's some great stuff that he lays down in this. So I would go check it out. I think it's a great interview. We're going to have Daniel Otis from Vice Magazine tomorrow. So we're going to be talking about Canadian air incursions and all sorts of fun stuff. So, and then we've got, after our show tomorrow, Christina Gomez is going to be doing paradigm shifts on her channel. So that's right after our show tomorrow. So it's going to be a fun Friday.
And if you guys haven't subscribed to the Singularity Lab right now, again, we go live here Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we're on UCR Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So make sure you subscribe, click the button below, click the like button, help us get this show out to more people.
Can I plug just really quick on Saturday? I'm going to be going live.
Oh God, yes! Please
maybe,
plug away.
Maybe with Michael, Luis, if you're welcome. And
Yeah.
I'm also, I shouldn't say this, but maybe Dragon from Skinwalker Ranch might jump on with us, so we can talk about that. But I would love to talk about this this whole incident of the underground honeycomb Earth and the legends leading up to this, how it ties in. I think we could talk about that too. That'd be cool.
100%.
Red Bull gives you nosebleeds.
I
think they're referring to Rather.
For those of you who just joined us, the New York Times this article just came out a few minutes ago. Government finds no evidence that aerial sightings were alien spacecraft. The strange objects witnessed by Navy pilots remain unexplained, but officials briefed on a new study.
Don't endorse that dodgy air conditioner that keeps showing up on
Yeah, this is not
what is that?
We do not endorse this thing turned my room into an icebox quicker than an AC. We do not endorse that.
Yeah, right. I know that's bullshit.
But officials briefed on a new study say they are not secret technology from a classified American program. But again, I don't necessarily believe the government when they say shit. So, anywho, but let's read a couple more lines of this real quick and let's chop it up. What is true, and I'm actually being serious here, Mr. Obama said, is that there is footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. Exactly what they're. We kind of know what they are, but not exactly. That's a little. The report concedes that much about the observed phenomenon remains difficult to explain, including their acceleration, ability to change direction, and submerge. One possible explanation that the phenomenon could be weather or other research balloons does not hold up in all cases, the official said, because of changes in wind speed at the time of the interactions. The final report will also contain classified annex, the officials said. Classified annex, the official said, while that annex will not contain any evidence concluding that the phenomenon are alien spacecraft, the officials acknowledged that the fact that it would remain off limits to the public was likely to continue to fuel speculation that the government had secret data about alien visitations to Earth. Many of the more than 120 incidents examined in the report are from naval personnel, officials said. The report also examined incidents involving foreign militaries over the last 2 decades. Intelligence officials believe at least some of the aerial phenomena could be experimental technology from a rival power, most likely Russia or China. One senior official briefed on the intelligence said without hesitation that U.S. officials knew it was not American technology. He said there was worry among intelligence and military officials that China or Russia could be experimenting with hypersonic technology. What do you guys say?
One senior official, only one said it might be China or Russia. What you hear most of the time when these people get pinned down is they say not likely. It seems like Russia and China are having the same problem as us when it comes to these objects. Like that seems to echo through all of these reports in a weird way. Like they play that like it's a threat, and it could be, because they can't just dismiss that possibility. Like China's figured something out, but everything that they dig into, it seems like they're like, it's not likely. It's not likely Russian or Chinese either. So then what the hell is it? It's and the people trying to say they know what it is, it gets weirder and weirder,
Well, yeah, I mean, again, they're being forced to have the conversation, and this is the best way they know how to do it.
You're right.
George said I'd be willing to try to ferment a UFO, but I don't think that's a good idea.
That would be a whole different kind of first contact.
Yeah, yeah, or eerily familiar. One of the other.
A human called Dave says, "I hate being lied to," and I think that's where we're all just that's where we're all so fucking frustrated here.
Yeah, or being told something in a crafted way because we're believed to be very stupid,
like a kindergartner.
Yeah,
like they're talking to us like we're kindergartners. And I get your point, Luis. I understand what you're saying. Like you're coming from you're trying to put on your governmental hat. You're trying to put on your your sociological hat and say, well, it's a good idea for us to make sure we walk people into this and ease them into it because we really can't do anything anyway. But at the same time, I'm so fucking pissed, bro. Like I hate being talked down to by the government.
Yeah, it's been going on for so long, the psyops and the propaganda, like even about our own history as a nation and everything, the way it's taught in public schools compared to what you find out later when you're an adult and you dig into it. You just feel betrayed over and over and over.
When you learn
again.
about the Tulsa massacre for the first time, or you learn about
that it happened in the town where you live. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, and you just wonder, like, how much of this stuff, that's why they don't want to admit it, is because, like, the accountability runs so thick and deep that it's nobody wants to expose themselves to all of that.
This is a great point right here, though. Aaron Disario says, do they prep us for devastating hurricanes by lying to us about them coming?
No, but here's the thing is you're getting, I'm sorry, Kristen, what were you saying?
No, but I always wonder about the categorization. Like, I swear to God, I sit there and I watch and I'm like, did the weatherman just make the category higher because nobody's evacuating?
Or nobody's watching? I remember South Florida news when every time a hurricane came, like it would bum them out when the hurricane was
dying out. Yeah.
They're like, that's when everybody's like, okay, it's category 1 again, guys, we're cool, let's go back and play softball. But what I was going to say, but the difference,
I'm not going to lie, like when a hurricane's on its way, like it's pretty exciting. I'm not going to lie to you.
It is exciting, but until it hits, and then you're out of power for 4 weeks, and then it's not exciting anymore because you haven't taken a bath,
and nobody can make ice.
But the difference between a hurricane and, again, this UAP UFO topic, you can see a hurricane. Everyone can see a hurricane. The radar systems, the weathermen, everyone is on the same boat as to where the hurricane is, what it's doing, what its purpose is. We understand it 100. Like, it's not like if the government came out tomorrow and said a hurricane is heading for South Florida, people would be raising their hands going, well, what is motivation? What is it doing? Why is it here? Where did it come from? Like, none of those questions come with a hurricane because we have all of the answers on a hurricane. But dude, it's not the same. It's not the same. I love you to death, right. But it's not the same. And again, give me the New York Times headline that you're going to put. If you're the editor-in-chief, what's your headline? What's your headline? Because let's dissect it. I mean, if the headlines, aliens are here.
They're Deros programmed life forms from the honeycomb Earth, and they've been here before us, and da-da-da-da-da, and they've been cloning underground, and we've been finding their relic devices.
Neumann bots.
Yeah. Just let it all out. And you know what would happen is half of the people would be like, I told you so. And the other half of the people would be like, well, I got to get to work on time. How does this affect me? And they would just shove it back in their blind spot and move on.
That's a really good point. That's a really good point because people wouldn't stop. Like, even like think of something like 9/11, a tragedy happens. People don't stop going to work. They don't stop. And then.
Yeah, but we're not talking about you guys. We're talking about reporters. Like, what would reporters do? Oh. You know what I'm saying? Like, what would be their questions in the press room that night?
How many views did it get?
Like, not even somebody, they're not going to have to worry about views. Yeah. If that comes out, that is a news entity's dream for that information to be true. You could start to see it because Look at what's going on every night now. They're having the conversation every night on cable news.
How held hostage are journalists now? Like, I mean, we're doing whatever we want right here, but when you get to a certain level of journalism, like, do you know that if you say some certain things that you might get dragged out of your house in the middle of the night and nobody will ever hear from you again?
I don't think the journalists that are reporting on this or asking questions
they're chasing
are that well informed. I think maybe Gaddy Schwartz is, but I don't think they ask the questions that are hard hitting. Like when I proposed last night to Ralph Blumenthal, why is the New York Times looking at the UFO information that's 100% not classified? Like we could be looking at UFO information, pictures, video from the 70s. Why not? Where's the radar tracking information from the Cold War? Like that stuff, those systems are not classified anymore. Like that's, I think, where they should be focusing.
That's
because right now they're trying to get information from some of the newest systems we have that are still in operation.
Our executive producer just shared what he'd say what his headline would be.
All right.
Aliens start a new human farm on Mars. But think about that though. Think about if you just made a joke. And then you were like, just kid, gotcha, but and then you laid something on, and then you laid something real.
That's like what you see, like Obama and these guys.
Would be pissed.
All these guys doing, they go on to the late night talk shows or the Ellen show so that they can kind of like, put a little tongue in their cheek and say it sarcastically, but then you wonder, like, did he really just say it? And man, I'm so exhausted by that. Like
serious by getting a bunch of white ladies to laugh about it.
I actually think that now that you're saying that, I actually think that might probably be the best way. Like if say we had congressional hearings and they were revelatory. And then, a few weeks later, a president or a vice president or somebody comes on the Kimmel show and they're like, hey, all right, we saw the congressional hearings. What's going on? And they maybe laid it out for the American people on a show like that. I think, where they have the ability to laugh about it. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that's what the sharing, if we take this, this is the way to do it. If you take it super seriously and you put it in this super serious setting where it's being told by, in some cases, some of the scariest people on earth, the military, the Department of Defense, the Department of Energy, instead of giving it to them and letting them handle the PR, just take somebody like a Biden, or I would probably recommend Kamala Harris, to go on a Kimmel and get asked the questions and have the ability to say, yeah, actually, this is happening. Like, this is really, really, it's a big question that our Department of Defense is having, like we don't know what they are. And that's a little scary, but we're trying to figure it out and we're opening it to science and just say things that are gonna, because if you present it in this news format, I think people are going to get scared. If you do it the way everybody wants it done. Does that make sense? Like if you do it through 60 Minutes or the New York Times or CNN or Fox News, or as a presidential address from the White House, like that could add some really scary undertones or tones to it that would just either freak a bunch of people out or would cause the media to go into frenzy. But if you do it on a late night talk show, you don't have to answer questions that night. You can see how everybody reacts to it, and then you can have the morning to really figure out how you're going to respond to it.
Or you could release it on the Unidentified Celebrity Review or the Singularity Lab and let it just organically get shared with people that want to share it.
Biden can come on. We'll have Saki on. And apparently, they already covered the hive people underneath the earth in Doctor Who, though, Carl.
Well, they've covered every possible thing in Doctor Who.
Clear back to the 1930s.
I mean, how many seasons of Doctor Who are? I think there's like 30 something.
There's a ton of seasons.
It's crazy.
The Shaver mystery goes clear back. Oh, it's so bizarre with all of that. Yeah. Ultra-terrestrials and these beings that have existed in the earth and under the ocean, and they send robots and drones up.
Dude, talk about scaring people. Like, I think that's a scarier thing to tell the population that they're actually under us than they're coming from the sky.
And in
That's
that,
scarier.
That's how they sold the Blob. Yeah.
Yeah, and the
and
Abyss.
the Deros, the drone robots, are they're malicious, and they are described almost exactly like alien greys, and that they project holographic beams and situations into people's minds and abduct them and paralyze them. This is clear back in like the early 1930s and stuff, that this guy claimed he received all this through the electromagnetics of his welding machine.
Yeah. Okay. I think that guy was sniffing too many. He was sniffing too many welding fumes, I think.
Dude.
Dude,
yeah,
wild.
John Keel writes about this in his books all over the place. It's like echoes everywhere, like that they're right under our nose, and then some weird way. And the reaction is just to burst out laughing because it's so ridiculous.
Well, I was gonna say, please don't mistake my laughter for like a complete repudiation of what you're saying. It's just so fucking out there that it's like. The only response is laughter. But to that point earlier that you were talking about the late night television show, and like the cure for everything, in my opinion, is laughter. And if you can help people understand a difficult concept and by making it funny, and I think that's why the Unidentified Celebrity Review does so well, is because we don't take ourselves too serious. This is a very serious topic.
Yeah.
But we don't take ourselves too seriously, and we're able to laugh through it. And I think that creates camaraderie, it creates communication, it creates, a general appreciation for our humanity, and that we're all in this boat together.
But also an understanding.
Yeah. If you don't have a sense of humor about life in general, you're going to have a hard time. I agree.
Truth.
That's rough.
That's rough.
It gets real rough real quick.
Dude, this universe is hard. Like everything's hard. And you have to not take it too seriously.
We got into a conversation the other day, and I'm like, well, you can't prove we're standing here. Then you're automatic was like, yes, I can. I'm like, no, you can't.
I'm like, I think therefore I am, motherfucker.
But where are the thoughts happening?
That's exactly what I said. I said, I know I'm here, but I don't know where here is.
There you go.
Oof. Welcome to the Singularity Lab, everybody.
You don't know where it is.
That's where you are, Michael. You're at the Singularity Lab. I'm Lou. That's Carl. That's Kristen. She's your wife. All right. That's where you are. But yeah, no, dude, it's like, man, every time we start going down this hole, my head just starts pounding because it's like, God damn it. Am I just a sim? Am I just being controlled by someone's mouse? Or are we in a cigarette that someone's about to flick and hit a puddle and boof, we're all gone. I don't know. I don't even want to think about it anymore. Honestly, it's too goddamn scary.
That's why disclosure is such a difficult thing. It's not straightforward. Like we want them just to serve it up on a platter and say, oh, this is aliens and they come from this star system. There's so many layers to the existential crisis as it unfolds about who we even are as humanity and where we come from and all of our belief systems and even our concept of physical reality could be completely dropped off the table when you understand what these things are and how they actually interact with our perceptions of reality and everything. It could be really scary,
Yeah, I agree with you. And I want to know what people out there think. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the StreamYard link in here. If anybody wants to pop on and give us their idea, feel free to click that link and you can pop in and say hello. We have a couple rules. You want to share what the rules are, Luis?
Yeah, don't be naked. Turn down the volume on the stream you're watching and be connected to Wi-Fi. I love this name, by the way, Chris Spaghetti.
Yeah, that's awesome. Knees weak, arms are heavy. Chris Spaghetti, like an Eminem lyric.
To come back to robots again. We didn't get anywhere.
We got a little. We didn't finish, but we did get somewhere. But you're right. We're gonna have to come back to robots.
Into the robots really quick. What if one of these Boston Dynamics machines, like it can walk like a humanoid type device, but what if it could emit a frequency or a signal that basically overpowered your own perceptions and made you think you were in a different place than you actually were? They could project a holographic perception augmented over your reality using tonal frequencies and laser projection devices. And then you start to wonder, these robots could show up, project a paralysis onto your nervous system, make you think that you're in a certain alien environment and take you, and they could just be drones underneath the holographic layer of perception. And if you think that the government couldn't build like a box that once you got close to it, it messed up your sense of reality and made you think you were somewhere that you weren't, then it's not that far out of question to think that other things would have that ability, or an advanced AI could do that.
So we've got Chris Spaghetti here. We're gonna pop him in. Yeah.
Yes. And he's a brother. I love it. I love it with a name like Chris Spaghetti, man.
Well,
I love it.
Chris, help me not have an existential crisis. What's going on? How are you holding up to all this? Oh, we got no. Are you, Chris? You're muted.
Are you muted?
I think you're muted on your device.
On your end, yeah.
Or your microphone is muted. I think.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Lost the camera.
The pressure of coming on the first time.
Yep, it's.
Let's see if we can get him back.
We'll get him.
I'm dying to hear Chris.
Oh, hello.
We can't seem to hear your audio.
Oh, you had it.
Did he?
I thought he had it for a second. Try it again. Try hitting that speaker button again. There you go. Yeah, there it is. Oh, we had you. Undo it. Whatever you want, just press. Press it again.
Come on, Chris. You can do this.
You can do it, Chris. Come on, Chris Spaghetti. I need to talk to you.
Nikki says, don't panic and always have your towel when traveling in space.
Good advice.
Fucking men. Don't panic, folks. Nobody panic.
Chris Spaghetti will be here in a second.
Chris, don't panic.
Oh, did he call? Did he call from another stream?
Let's try to add him in using different.
Oh wait, you do it.
Let's see. Oh, sorry.
There he goes.
Chris, can we hear you?
Oh wait, I'm gonna kick this guy.
Okay, is it working now?
Yes.
There you go.
Yes, nice.
Chris, hit us with where you're at on all this.
Oh wow. My sound isn't working.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Oh. No.
Maybe he can't hear us. Maybe that's what he means.
Chris, are you on a Wi-Fi?
Do you know the sign language for Wi-Fi?
What? It's Y.
Really?
No.
That's a W.
I can't hear anybody.
Oh, there we hear you.
We can hear you now.
We can hear you.
Can you hear us? Can
I
you
don't
hear us,
think
Chris?
he's on a Wi-Fi. See, this is what happens when you're not on Wi-Fi, folks.
I'm gonna try and reset this one more time.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Reset
it.
Reset it. No,
okay. All right. Reset it.
Reset it, Chris. You can come back as many times as you want.
Let's bring in Aaron. Aaron, can you hear us?
Hi there. Yeah.
Hey, what's happening, Aaron?
How are you?
Finally get to see your face. This is great.
So let me start with my shirt, though.
Yes!
Yeah.
Oh, love it.
Thank you for all the fish, Aaron.
Thank you for all the fish. I love it.
Aaron, where's your head at with all this?
Yes.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us okay?
Yeah. Which part? I've just been so
okay.
Yeah.
So this idea of soft disclosure, where's your head with how this stuff is sort of dripping out on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. So that's extremely frustrating to me because, I feel like we're being treated like children, and in particular, there's a lot of people who probably can't handle the truth, but
right.
In the end, they're going to adapt, right? They will adapt to it, and we all will adapt to it. If there is something about the nature of our existence, it is completely unfair for a small group of people to have full control over it.
Well, here's the thing, though, right? You tell people on the East Coast that gasoline prices are going to skyrocket because something just got hacked into. And then and that propels people to put gasoline in garbage bags. Like, what are they going to do when you tell them that there's an alien? I understand what you're saying. I think more than likely right, because I think most of us are
There's
just
going to be
thinking-
some disruption, and that's what they're trying to avoid.
Right,
They
but
don't
that's
want
also
that.
hard to predict. Like, it's a very you can't model that. You know, it's very difficult to predict that kind of blowback.
And though I would suggest it's the path that we're on easy to predict. Right? I mean, we're already in this technological singularity situation where people can bring a suitcase bomb into New York City, and there's really not a lot we can do about it. So I think that Rubicon is crossed, and it's too late for that.
Yeah.
So basically, what you're saying is it doesn't matter. You might as well let it fly.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, maybe you want to drip it out in a way that forms a narrative that's easy to understand and puts people in the right frame of mind for going forward in the future. But I don't think you can hold on to this information any longer. It's not a free society.
Isn't it fair to say, though, that's what they're doing? That's what they've been doing since 2017. I mean, if you're gonna drip this to society, wouldn't you do at least a 5 to 10 year plan?
Yeah. So the thing is, I'm not in on their plans. None of us are. And
right.
It maybe if they were to take the smart people or the interested people and fill them in on the plans, and
because we could keep a secret.
Reveal it to Mensa and ask them what to do about it.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, though,
right?
Lou, wait. So you said reveal it to Mensa and let them figure it out. Lou Elizondo is a member of Mensa.
That's the rumor. We forgot to ask him.
Oh, that's a rumor?
We haven't looked it up. That's what I heard.
Oh,
yeah, I've been very clear. That's what I've heard. Okay. I don't know for sure, but it wouldn't shock me if he was. But if he is, he's one of the top 1% of the smartest people on the planet. So yeah, it's
certainly comes across as one of the smartest people on the planet.
Definitely.
I have an interesting adjunct about that though, because we have a friend who was recruited by Mensa, but she never joined. So there are those people out there too.
Oh, who are like, "Fuck you, man."
Yeah. I wonder what the recruitment to Mensa's like.
But I'm not necessarily sure the smartest people are the right people either. You need people who have human interests at heart.
Yeah.
I think the best thing to do would be to form a committee, and maybe that's where we're headed with these Senate committees. That would be a welcome.
Well, I think if we get a Senate hearings, congressional hearings of some kind, I think then you can have the headline in the New York Times: aliens possibly exist, aliens likely to exist. Something like that, where it's not so definitive, and then in another 5 years, aliens confirmed. Like in 10 years, if we get the aliens confirmed headline, I think we'll all be pretty happy with that timeline.
Sure, but why so slow? I mean, I don't think it needs to be. I think they could do it they could do it in a couple of months, really.
Well, maybe this thing is speeding up though, because from 2017 to 2020 seemed like kind of a long time, and then from 2020 to from January 2021 to today, shit's been happening real fast.
Yeah,
and it could be something where it's like aliens exist, but it's radically different than what people are expecting, and that makes it a lot more difficult.
It's scary.
Or like Hollywood producing some sort of like new age War of the Worlds type broadcast and scaring the crap out of everybody, and then just pulling it back and being like, yeah, no, it's fine, but there's aliens.
Right,
that sounds terrible.
Make it super scary, and then be like, okay, it's not that bad. But I feel like they've been doing that for the past 40 years.
Really, it isn't that bad, right? I mean, they've been here forever, for millions of years or however long, right? So it really isn't that bad. Nothing's going to change because we know that they're here. Everybody's worried that they're going to land on the White House lawn. Why would they do that? They have no interest in us. And if we find out about them, fine. They don't care.
It's already happening. It's already occurring. Yeah.
So I just want to let folks know that Aaron's going to be joining us for the Singularity Lab next week as well. He's going to come on as a panel guest, so I'm super excited about that. Aaron, thank you so much for calling in today. I'm gonna pop you out and then bring in the next person. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Let's try Chris one more time.
We'll see you next week. I'm gonna try Chris again.
And just real quick, our producer says that the recruitment is a test, puzzles and brains, algebra of all kinds. I just imagine a guy with a trench coat opening it up and be like, "You want to try some puzzles? Yeah, come. I got algebra. You want an algebra test? You know."
That's high IQ. People test really well with patterns and stuff. It's
Yeah.
a lot of patterning.
It's Mensa.
Interesting.
Chris, how are you?
We can hear you, man.
Awesome. And I can hear you guys fine.
Chris Spaghetti. I love it.
Yeah, I can't change the name. That's why I'm kind of stuck.
It's your real name.
No,
the Chris
not.
part is, but
Okay. Man, if your last name's Spaghetti, you might have a permanent spot on my show.
But yeah, I believe a touch of nihilism will actually help in the overall grand scheme of things. It's pretty much like if you have the idea of like, well, we're only here for X amount of years. We're only here for 105 years at max. Obviously we can live further, but if we're here for that amount of time, why not make the best of it? Like, don't live your life, like, oh man, I'm going to regret that tomorrow. Live your life as like, dang, that was a great experience I had yesterday. Maybe I could do something better to one up that. And it's like, I feel if you bring in the idea of aliens, you're going to invalidate a lot of people's ideas of like how to think about themselves. A lot of the world is religious. So you have to think about if you were to suddenly announce they're aliens today, now you have 2/3 of the world like, well, is my God real? And then there's uprisings from that. The world isn't stable enough where it can handle such news of importance. I mean, there are people like, everybody that watches this channel and, us in this panel that will, be completely accepting like, oh, aliens? Oh, I knew it. I just need that confirmation bias. I just need the confirmation bias.
Right.
But it's like, there's a lot of people that can't fathom the idea of there might be something bigger to the universe and that the human-made systems that we've made to explain like, oh, well, after you die, you go to heaven or you go to hell if you're a bad person. Those concepts might not even exist on like a galactic scale. So it's like you would have like pretty much like uprisings all over the world. People wouldn't. Why, if I'm not going to listen to my own God that, I've taken his word and everything, why would I listen to my government? You guys have been lying to me.
Here's the thing. I would check out Chris Spaghetti if I were you. Alejandro Rojas did a dissertation on his channel, Open Minds UFO show or podcast. And he did I think an hour and a half presentation on this exact topic, theology and UFOs. Like, what would religions do? And they've already got like the Vatican has already got ways to explain this to still underline that their God is still valid. And his idea is that it would be a hiccup, but there wouldn't be any major changes in those religious institutions. They would just frame the argument in their narrative, or in their favor. Yeah,
it's interesting you say that because you could, but
it's a good point.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point, and I agree with you on a lot of levels because, like, we've seen some extraordinary changes over the like 2020. Like, nobody had ever considered a pandemic before. Like, like 3 people have been warning us for years about a pandemic, and we finally get one. And it like we saw some major disruptions, and I think there were good disruptions though, but major disruptions. And so I think you will see that if you see some sort of disclosure. But also, if you go back to the times of Galileo, when the church refused to look in the telescope and they refused to admit that the world was, that the earth revolved around the sun, eventually they did accept it and their religions survived.
A lot of dudes died.
A lot of dudes died. Right. So there will be. So I think everyone's right. We will see disruption, but people will move on.
I mean, you also have to consider that history is ever changing. I mean, we can say something, happened, but what actually happened can be completely different. History is always written by the winners. So just because, the religion was set as one way doesn't mean that the basis of that religion is the same as today. For example, how many times have they rewritten the Bible, the Old Testament, the New Testament? Mm-hmm. There's things like that. Like you can jump in at any point, but you can say that these two things aren't exactly the same. They've changed some little thing about it. And it's like, That's the point. Like they're gonna keep changing little by little by little by little to the point where it's like it's nearly unrecognizable. Kind of like the idea of like, at what point do you stop replacing a part of a boat, and which one becomes the original? I don't know if you guys
Right,
have,
the ship of
heard.
the ship of Theseus is what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
exactly.
it's
And
like,
it's also the slow boiling frog, right? So if you and I think that's this idea of soft disclosure. You slowly boil the frog until by the time you rip off the Band-Aid, it doesn't hurt anymore.
Right.
Yeah. What if one of these things that have been considered by religions throughout history to be like their deity is like a pre-programmed sort of a drone entity that's an advanced AI? That would be a lot harder even to take than, oh, it's an extraterrestrial or an interdimensional divine being that's been interacting with our humanity from this other dimension. If it's some sort of a programmed thing, that might be a huge letdown,
Well, here's the thing also, like, would it be so bad if religions crumbled? Like, they don't deserve the tax breaks anyway. Like, would it be so bad if the Vatican started paying some fucking taxes?
Dude,
but
all that,
like the rest of us?
All the treasure they stole?
Yeah. The secrets they're sitting on? Like, can you imagine what's in the books that they've been sitting on?
Look what Nick said. Scientology will become the new Christianity. It'd be like the new bitch.
Is it really that much different though when you get aside from the story, the attachment that you have to it being like just a mystical, spiritual type of phenomenon to like, okay, like let's actually say that what we consider angels or demons are real, then we're talking about like Skinwalker Ranch, poltergeist type stuff. And then people are like, whoa, and that can be a really hard Band-Aid to rip off
You're
for people.
pointing out that those ideas aren't super different.
They're not that super different.
Not.
They're not. To believe that something's appearing in a beam of light and then changing the course of humanity and sharing advanced wisdom and technology and then disappearing back up into the sky or this other dimension. Like, is it really that much different that people just like want to go worship that being as opposed to questioning it with skepticism and being like, wait, what is this thing and where does it come from?
Well, I think Obama said the same thing a couple of days ago. He said if people discovered that there were aliens, you would see new religions popping up. There would be people worshiping, and then you'd have people worshiping different saucer shapes, dude. Yeah. Like,
well, I also like the idea of this, of like the Vatican passing around the donation tray for aliens, like, can you imagine that?
That gets awkward.
That would be amazing. Amazing.
But I definitely think it would be a lot easier to accept if it was drone technology, just because
for sure.
we can see it in our own technology, like you guys showed the robot examples earlier. I mean, they're not that far off from like humans, and if you really think about it, like video game AI, like for example, you can have pretty complicated AI. I believe it was Skyrim. They actually developed during the development of it, they created an AI for the game to have its own in-game economy. So the villagers would go out, do pre-selected tasks, but it would also take into effect other accounts. So if that villager was poor but extremely hungry, they would go steal to get that bread. But now in the game, they would be considered a thief. So one of the guards would, take care of the NPC or whatever the character, and pretty much like you can basically make. I believe you can use some kind of like form of like a game. It sounds weird, but if everything's a simulation, games are the best option for that. If you make a game that's like so similar to the rules that we have here in actual reality, I'm pretty sure you can simulate, something with maybe not a near perfect self-recognition, like, oh yeah, I know I'm a video game, or I know I'm an AI, but you can get something pretty close that can like replicate other things, because if you give it the rules of our universe, it's going to operate within those rules, and then it's going to start thinking of like, oh well, why didn't you guys just do this? Great example is machine learning.
Is it like an antivirus, or the UFO UAP phenomenon, like an antivirus phenomenon occurring within our reality, just like keeping us in check and trying to probe the system, and we're like Tron, we're the infection or the virus?
That would definitely be interesting. But I mean, I believe like they would be just observers, just like as passive as they can be without having a hard direct line. Because I mean, granted, like you guys say, like if an alien saucer was to land tomorrow, there would be nothing really anything anybody can do about it. If they're so-called aggressive, it's not impossible to think, grab an asteroid from our millions of asteroids in our asteroid belt, drop it from orbit. Yeah, that's it. And then look, you took clear the 90% of the planet, and now all the resources are yours. Water is not really that rare. It's just in ice form. You can melt down ice, so you can get that from any poles of any planets, especially further ones in the solar system.
There's moons you could easily get water from. Yeah.
So there's nothing that really
Titan
brings people to Earth, or I imagine anything substantial about Earth that you can't find outside of the universe, except for maybe the consciousness that we see. And the only reason we can say that right now is because we have no other frame of reference for any other consciousness out there.
Ooh, maybe they're mining consciousness.
Oh
my God! Like we mine for Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Because you're right, dude. Like the reason why Bezos and Musk are building space programs is because they want to go find gold on an asteroid and bring him I don't even know what the number is to there are asteroids made of diamonds. There are these resources in our solar system that are just floating around out there that we can go just start drilling. And they've already landed a satellite or a probe on a moving asteroid. That's happened. So this idea that
they're building a brain
chain, dude. You just touched someone. Chris Spaghetti.
Kristen's head just exploded. I'm pretty sure.
I can see the spaghetti.
America, which is kind of frightening.
Yeah.
The spaghetti's just popping out of her head.
Yeah.
They're like psychic
Chris,
vampires or something. They come and feed off of us. Yeah.
Chris, there's somebody in the chat. Oh, it's my sister actually.
Yeah.
Says, I think Chris needs a panel spot soon, and I think she's absolutely right. So maybe Chris, you'll join us again here sometime as a panel guest.
Yeah, no problem. I come from the alien scientist community, so
yeah.
Fantastic!
It looks like you're in a dorm room. What's going on? Are you a student?
No, I'm in my room. I have hella clothes everywhere, but
okay.
As of right now, I just have this on my window because I hate sunlight. So
I thought that was it looked like a door. I thought that was a door, like a door in an old classroom. And then I saw those noise pads, so I was like, oh, he might be in like a college dorm or like a studio of some kind. Okay, all right. Dude, you're a smart dude. I like.
Yeah, no doubt. So, Chris, are you on Twitter? Are you on Twitter?
Yeah. I am.
Okay, will you DM me your stuff and we'll hook that up?
Yeah, follow us all on Twitter, man, so we know it's you.
Yeah.
What is it? Tell me, it's Chris Spaghetti.
Nah,
on Twitter.
Darn it.
But what's your Twitter handle?
At Chris Stan LA, spelled ChrisTTAN LA.
Okay.
Are you in LA?
No, I'm in Jersey.
Oh. Okay.
Jersey. I'm going to be in Jersey next week, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So, hey, Chris, thank you so much for stopping by today. Hit me up on Twitter, and we'll set up you as a panel guest. That'd be great.
Awesome. I'm going to be in the chat.
All right. Later,
Thanks.
brother. Thanks.
Chris bringing up some interesting points. Feeding off of our brain chain of consciousness.
The brain chain.
Imagine if it's that's why they're coming here.
There could be unseen resources that we don't perceive that are relevant to our part of the solar system that these things come for that we just aren't aware of. Maybe it's our radiation signals or electromagnetic frequency they harness. Like they always seem to hover around our nuclear facilities, and maybe there's a byproduct to the radiation or something like that.
I feel like those levels. I disagree because I think those levels of radiation and those kind of radio signals, all of that shit already exists in space. All of those things. But if they were coming here to mine our consciousness, like to just
That's
to feed off
fascinating.
the vibes of like the idea of our consciousness is a beacon for them. Like that's the thing
That's
a drug
fascinating.
trip. What if they come here to get high off of our experience?
I mean, who knows, dude?
And if you think about it, like human beings, like we're fascinated with the idea of alien life. So alien life could be just as fascinated with the idea of alien life. And so if you can connect with our consciousness without interrupting our day-to-day civilization,
that would be a trip.
Would make total sense.
That would make a lot of sense. That would make a lot of sense.
It would be in a universe of something they've totally mastered, that they feel like they know everything. The spontaneity of the human consciousness would be a total trip for them to witness, like a total reality show,
Bro.
you know, to try and understand and see where it's going.
All right. Well, hey, here's the deal, guys. We're going to be having this conversation a lot here on the Singularity Lab. We're going to be having it on UCR, the Unidentified Celebrity Review. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, do it right now. Click the like button so we can get it out to more people. You know you want to share this show with others. Make sure you go and check out Carl Vibe on YouTube. All you got to do is click on the link in the description. You can go follow his show. I'm going to be appearing on his show on Saturday. It's going to be a trip. Carl, do you have anything you want to say on your way out?
No, just come check it out on Saturday, and everybody else's shows. Click the link down below.
What time Saturday?
We'll figure that out. I was thinking 10 o'clock West Coast time, Pacific Standard Time, right around there, 11,
10 a.m.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah, I'm trying to see. I've got maybe a special guest coming on, but once I confirm that time with him or not, then we'll go for it.
Cool.
No, I'm not gonna say. Okay.
Maybe it might be the dragon,
Singularity
actually.
Lab, a reality show for aliens.
Oh, the Singularity Lab, a reality show for aliens. I like it. All right, Carl. Thanks, brother.
Thank you very much.
Whew, you guys, what a show. What a show. What a show.
That was fun.
I can't get over this idea of the brain chain. I get Kristen's like freaking out over here thinking about it. The whole hands because remember, was it from Out or not Out or Us?
Yeah,
it was an
yeah,
Us.
they had that whole thing
when they had
going on. I'm still not
the
sure
retro.
that I entirely understand it.
That was like a Pepsi commercial or a Coca-Cola commercial, wasn't it? That they were copying?
Or was
it was a thing they did back in. Yeah.
I can't remember. I don't know.
It was it was a commercial.
No, it's on a Coke commercial. Would you like to buy the world of Coke?
Yeah, I actually prefer Diet Dr. Pepper because it tastes exactly like regular Dr. Pepper.
That's weird because I prefer Arizona peach iced tea because it tastes like real peaches.
You guys in the chat have been a trip. Thank you so much for joining us today here on the Singularity Lab. Thank you for getting weird with us. Thank you for taking the time out of your Thursday evening to spend it with us. Luis, Kristen, it's been a pleasure. And we'll catch you all on the flip side. Yes, tomorrow at the Unidentified Celebrity Review.
1 o'clock PST. We got Daniel Otis from Vice Magazine. It's kind of appointment YouTubeism.
Oh, wait, a what?
Instead of television, I said YouTubevision.
I get it.
It's not a thing. I just made that up.
Well, it is now. It's a thing now.
No, it's not. It's not. But
you know what? We're gonna tell everybody where they can find it because we've got a great little TV outro here. So thank you all so much, and we'll see you at UCR
Monday, 4 p.m. Jazz Shaw and Stephen Greenstreet. Wednesday, 4 p.m. Ralph Blumenthal. 5 p.m. Skinwalker Review and Friends. On Friday, journalist Daniel Otis from Vice News Magazine. Tuesday, 4 p.m. on the Singularity Lab, Down the Wormhole. Thursday at 4 p.m., Space Robots. Come aboard and get weird on the Unidentified Celebrity Review.
Oop. Bye, everyone.